Okay, so we've got Andy Curran here at montrealrocks.ca. Get into Andy and everything he's done and probably the one thing he hasn't done. Before we get to that, I'd just like to thank Steve Gerard of Montreal Rocks. He's allowing me to plug. I'll be going live with my own personal website, www.bordercityrocktalk.ca on Friday. And I will be interviewing Dee Snider on Friday. And just like to thank Tony Cavalier here in the Sioux Captive Studios for making this happen. He's built my website. That's Captive with a K, 2 P's. And yeah, I know you're a hockey fan there, Andy. Are you a football in Europe or a soccer fan here in North America? Big game yesterday.
Sorry, buddy, you just froze there on me, but it sounded like you said you're in the Sioux. Are you in Sault Ste. Marie?
I am in Sault Ste. Marie.
Excellent. Have some good memories of playing a couple venues there. I've got a funny story about that I can tell you. But what was your question there about? Were you talking about hockey?
Well, no, I was saying I know you're a hockey fan, especially the Blackhawks. We'll get to that. But yesterday was a big day, and the guy that built my website, his family runs Fratelli's and Giovanni's here in the Sioux, obviously Italian family, and there was a big soccer presence or football, if you're European,
yes,
at their venues. And I'm just curious if you're a fan of that sport. It was a big game yesterday, Italy and England.
Yeah. Listen, my parents are born and raised in England. And so we watched a lot of soccer growing up. And I have to tell you, that was quite the game. And to lose it in the shootout there was heartbreaking for England. And but I know that we've got a big Italian community here in Toronto. So my guess is the streets were going crazy here yesterday. But that was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, we've got Andy Curran here. Coney Hatch, Caramel, Leisure World. He's doing some interesting stuff here with another legend in the industry. We'll get into that in a few moments. You've done everything except run Scott Cook's Hair Scare on Saturday nights here in Sioux, Michigan. What motivates you?
Well, listen, we started with hockey, and I got to be honest with you, like every Canadian kid growing up, I wanted to be in the NHL. But what at the core of me is a guy who loves to listen to new music all the time, loves to discover new artists. There's very few styles that I don't like. So I'm all over the map, and I think that's sort of the producer in me that loves creating music or listening to other styles. But no, I've had a pretty lucky run, Ernest, as I'm certainly still performing, still composing, coming up on close to 40 years, but spent a lot of time on the other side of the desk too, working with Anthem Records and the management company there. So I've covered a lot of territory, and I consider myself pretty lucky.
El Malcombo, you guys did that show last year. I remember it was a great show with streaming. And so how did it feel to get back there after, what was it? How many years was it since you played there? Decades.
Yeah, it was. And we originally played the El Malcombo in 1983. So right around the time of our second record. And, it was obviously, it's got such great legacy, that club. Everybody from the Rolling Stones to the Ramones, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Judas Priest played there. My God, the list just goes on and on. Not just rock bands too, Jaco Pastorius is the bass player from Weather Report, played there. Lots of Gilda Radner and some of the folks from Saturday Night Live. Yeah, they actually performed in a comedy troupe there. Yeah. So such great, rich history at the venue. And then when the new owner asked Coney to come back, it was pretty much in the middle of the pandemic, but we performed to 50 people that night. So it felt a little strange, but the club is so small and intimate, right? Yeah. So it felt really good, to answer your question, Ernest. And we got a really good recording of it and a good video feed, and we did a deal with Michael Weckerly, the owner, that we could release it on a bootleg type of a format. So we pressed up about 300 copies of it, and as of last week, I heard almost all of them were gone. So I guess there was some interest out there for it,
Well, maybe people are Actually, I digress. I want to get into something exciting in a second here, but another exciting thing is you're cleaning out your basement. I hear doing some spring cleaning, and you found some old tapes. Tell us about that and what you're doing with those.
Yes, I'm sure like a lot of guys out there, their wives are going, do you really need that? Do you really need that box? You know, and
Yeah,
cleaning up the man cave. So, I had known that I had the master tapes for Leisure World and Caramel for quite some time.
yeah,
And it was just a little bit of a laziness on my part to try to get them up on Apple and Spotify and Amazon. And a lot of my friends and my brothers, I've got 3 brothers, that just kept saying to me, when are you going to do that? So I got off my ass during COVID, worked with a really cool company in Nashville called Symphonic Distribution, and collected all of those records together. And I worked with a guy by the name of Harry Hess. Harry used to be in a band called Harum Scarum.
yes.
And he's a really good mastering engineer here in Toronto. So we compiled them all together. We did some mastering and put them all up. And you know what? It was a nice bit of closure for me. Those records are really hard to find. And both of those deals kind of came and went, and the record companies went bankrupt fairly quickly or got gobbled up by Universal. So you could never find those records anywhere. So I wanted to get them out and share them with people. So, and I'm particularly proud of the Leisure World record. I think it might be my favorite record that I've ever been involved with.
Wow. Telling some friends is going to be speaking with you, and my buddy's like, no tattoos, just great stuff off your solo stuff.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up the solo record, but with No Tattoos and License to Love. We're basically hit the 25th anniversary of that one, and I'm pretty proud of that one. You know, had 2 Juno nominations and won a Juno Award for it, right? But I spoke with Tom Barry, who ran Alert Records, still does, and I said, "Listen, what do you think about working together? I've found some old demos, I've found some live recordings of those songs, and when we were recording the record, there was 2 or 3 tracks that I didn't put on. So we're talking about doing an anniversary reissue of that, and I have my fingers crossed that we might be able to get that out this year, and it would have some rarities on it, and basically celebrating the 25th anniversary of that record."
Very nice, very nice. I'm sure all your fans are just gonna be chomping at the bit waiting for that. Before I get into, I'm just gonna ask a couple of quick questions. How did you get involved with Chicago Blackhawks so much? And you were recently interviewed by Knack, and they're a Chicago-based website or a news organization. What is your Chicago affiliation?
Okay, so growing up with 4 boys in our family, we all played hockey. My older brother loved the Leafs, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to like a team that my older brother likes." I loved the logo of Chicago. I lived in Mississauga, and we had minor hockey teams with the Hawk logo on them. Yeah. So I kind of gravitated towards the logo. But at that time that I really connected with the Hawks, Tony Esposito.
Yes, from the Sioux.
From the Sioux, right? Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita, Pat Stapleton. I loved all of those players, right?
Your agent, man.
Yeah, my kid brother loved the Boston Bruins, so I never stopped liking the team. I stuck with them all the way, and then eventually, in a very, very strange. Here's what I'll tell you. It actually goes back to the No Tattoos record, and I had to find folks at Labatt's working with me, and they actually gave us quite a bit of tour support and kept us on the road and gave us a lot of free beer, but we had to wear Labatt's t-shirts and bags and stuff, right? Yeah. And I was cool with that. Anyway, one of the guys from Labatt's invites me to a game at Maple Leaf Gardens, Chicago and Toronto. And he says to me after the game, "Do you want to go for a couple drinks with some friends of mine?" Didn't tell me who it was. We go around the corner and go into this room, and the entire Chicago Blackhawks team is there. Larmer, Denny Savard, Eddie Belfour, Wilson, Doug Wilson. And Doug Wilson comes over and gives me the signed photographs. It says, "To the world's biggest Chicago Blackhawks fan." And I just hung out with the Blackhawks the whole night. Wow. Where it got really cool is Mike Stapleton, who is Pat's son, came over and just said, "Andy, I love the No Tattoos record." Gives me his phone number. We kept in touch. I end up meeting a bunch of people who work for the Blackhawks, still stay in touch with Mike Gapsky, the trainer. Nice. So it's been a big, long love affair with the Hawks.
There's quite a interesting way how things come full circle. Mike Stapleton coached our Sioux Greyhounds here for a couple of years.
Awesome guy. And one of the stories that I'll tell you is that he cut a deal with me, and they're from Strathroy, Ontario. He
Mhm.
said, Andy, would you come and jam with me and my brothers? We've got some gear in our barn. We've got amplifiers, all this stuff. You just need to bring a bass guitar. So
Wow.
I said, Mike, I'll make a deal with you. I'll come over and do that, but you need to take me to the local rink and give me some pointers.
Ah,
So I drove out to Strathroy. I jammed with him and his brothers, and then we went over to the local rink where his younger brother Chris plays goalie, and
yeah.
we just peppered him with pucks for about an hour on the ice together. That was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you still play pickup hockey or anything?
I do. Before the pandemic, I was playing 3 times a week, so I
Wow.
haven't. I love it. I haven't stopped playing. I mean, it's just beer league with some pals, right? So
Yeah. Good
yeah,
exercise, and it's a good way to get out. You know, what I mean, I did that for a while too, but yeah, no, that's just great. So the big news, and we might have to go to part two, but I love this conversation the way it's flowing. What's envy of none that people don't know, and they're gonna know pretty darn soon. It cat's out of the bag in the industry, but I think a lot of fans of Coney Hatch and Rush are gonna be stoked when they hear what's coming out.
Well, Ernest, it's a bit of a pinch me moment for me because it's like I've known the boys in Rush and worked with them, but I never really crossed the line. Like when obviously when I met them back in the early '80s when we were label mates,
Yeah.
I played a lot of tennis with Getty and Alex, and then ended up playing a lot of golf with Alex, and we became very good friends. And then on the Roll the Bones tour, my band. That I call it the No Tattoos lineup. We ended up doing a bunch of dates with Rush on the Roll the Bones tour. So
Yeah.
we've always been very, very close and good friends. And out of the blue, Alex asked me to play bass on a couple tracks that he was working on at home. And I jokingly said to him, "Why don't you know any other bass players? Like I think, don't you know some guy whose initials are GL?" And he said, "No, I do, but I want to ask you to play on this."
Yeah.
Anyway, one thing led to another, and I mentioned to him that I'd been working with this young female vocalist by the name of Maiah Wynne, and
Yeah.
working on some material. He said, "Hey man, I would love to hear that stuff. Is there any way you could send it to me?" And I sent it to him, and he said, "Wow, it sounds really cool." I said, "Would you mind adding some guitars on it if you hear anything?" And it just steamrolled. It turned out from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 tracks now, and Alex is really, really proud of the stuff, as am I. And it's a side project for him,
Mhm.
and for me as well. But the working title of it is Envy of None, and we're talking to some labels right now, and it's going to see the light of day. We're gonna get this
Yeah.
thing out this year. We've got 10 tracks, and we're kind of at the stage now where we're talking to different people to mix and master it. And our goal is to try to get it out sometime this year, and we're having a couple good conversations with some labels. But I have to tell you, it started out very casually with Alex just saying, "Sure, I'll add some guitar to it," to now he's the driving guy. He's emailing me, calling me, going, "When are we going to get this
Yeah.
stuff out?" Right? So
Yeah. I
it's
see
a
that.
really and man, I used to go see Rush at Maple Leaf Gardens and Massey Hall. I actually can't believe this is happening to me, but it is.
Well, full circle, I'm pretty sure that they've went out and seen you guys in Coney Hatch. You maybe not even known it, but speaking of Coney Hatch, I know you guys got together last year with, I think Darby Mills was in the circle of the shows you're doing. I think you did some shows up in Ottawa. Sean Kelly was playing with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, Sean Kelly. Sean Kelly has joined the Hatch as the new lead guitarist, and we did a bunch of shows with British Lions, Steve Harris.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
so we did make it out to Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City, Toronto. I think we did Kitchener as well. And ironically, Steve Harris called me over the weekend to ask whether we would be interested in doing some shows in Western Canada and Europe with them for next year. So we definitely have those on board, and hopefully we can get back out on the road next year.
I think the Darby Mills thing was incorrect. I think that was when they did some shows with the Killer Dwarfs. So, but
Yes,
I
yes,
digress.
yeah.
But
No, you're
yeah,
right.
speaking of the Dwarfs, you're speaking with Daryl Miller pretty soon. He's released a second book. But any plans for Coney Hatch to do any shows? Like it looks like we're seeing, you know, the doors opening a bit wider. Are you guys talking at all in regards to maybe doing some shows this maybe?
Well, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what will happen this year, but we had some shows in Europe that were rescheduled for next year. So we're supposed to get to Germany next year as a makeup date, and we had a couple shows with Kim Mitchell in Buffalo and surrounding areas. So hopefully, I don't know if we're going to do anything this year, but definitely next year looks like a real strong possibility. Hello to everybody out there, and especially in the Sioux.
Yeah.
My one funny story I'll tell you is when we were playing, I can't remember the name of there's a club there that everybody played at. You might remember
Eastgate.
Eastgate. So I don't know why. I think we had like a Wednesday or a Thursday night off. So we went across the bridge and we partied in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
The back door.
And I do not remember coming home. Okay. I was so out of my mind. And I woke up in my hotel room floor in the bathroom in the fetal position and not remembered how I got there. But let me tell you, we had an awesome time at the back door.
Everything there is free pour. They don't even, I mean, they're looking at, they're holding their baby in one arm breastfeeding, and then they're pouring your drink. So it's all over there. It's insane. There's a lot of the stories that you just told. And that's a very funny one, man.
Yeah, I don't know how I got across the border with that without somebody asking me, but I apparently was KO'd. So
they're saying you've been drinking to the driver. No, your friends, are they dead or just passed out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well,
all right, buddy. Well, cheers. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
Ciao, bud.
Bye.
Ciao.